West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy with Chef Justice Putnam. Netrootsradio.com.
Je voudrais du soleil vert, des dentelles et des théières, des photos de bord de mer, dans mon jardin d'hiver. Je voudrais de la lumière, comme en Nouvelle-Angleterre. Je veux changer d'atmosphère, dans mon jardin d'hiver. À fleurs sous la pluie de novembre, tes mains qui courent, je n'en peux plus de t'attendre. Les années passent, il est loin, là je tombe. Nul ne peut nous entendre. Je voudrais du Fred Astaire, revoir un latte.
So yet again this month, Donald Trump has brought on stage in his traveling fascist circus events that he calls a rally, individuals who are either criminally charged or people who have actually pled guilty. Recall in Wildwood, New Jersey, Donald Trump called Lawrence Taylor on stage. More on that in a moment. But at Donald Trump's recent speech in the Bronx, he called onto the stage rappers by the name of Sleepy Hollow and Chef G, spelled SHEFFG, who were indicted last May, along with 30 other gang members, on a 140-count criminal indictment, including murder and at least 12 shootings. Chef G recently posted a $1.5 million cash bond to get released. And here he is with Donald Trump. Law and order, huh? This is what went down at Donald Trump's rally in the Bronx, where he brought Sleepy Hollow and Chef G on stage. Play the clip.
Oh, I like that. I want to get that done.
President Trump, oh man. One thing I want to say. One thing I want to say. They always gonna whisper your accomplishments and shout your failures. Trump gonna shout the wins for all of us.
Make America great again.
Thank you very much. That's where I like those teeth. I want to find out where you did. I got to get my teeth like that.
And as Donald Trump ranted about crime in New York for a lot of the moments at this rally, he then welcomed these rappers who you just saw, who are facing prison time, not only after shooting at people in broad daylight, but then bragging about it on social media on stage. So this is what went down at the rally in the Bronx. So by the way, before Donald Trump brought them on the stage, he bragged about being able to put on pants, just so you know what went down. Here, play this clip.
Some of the greatest days of my business career were in the toughest times, but I enjoyed waking up every single morning and go to battle. A lot of people say to me today, the toughest business people that you know about, could I ask you a question? How do you do it? I say, do what? How do you get up in the morning and put your pants on? Where do you put the pants on? I'll explain it to you someday. How do you do it? How do you get up?
And then Donald Trump also started talking about how hot he thinks he is. You know, bizarre this is. Play this clip.
Sort of like a hot guy. I was hot as a pistol. I think I was hotter than I am now and I became president, okay? I don't know. I said to somebody, was I hotter before or hotter now? I don't know. Who the hell knows? Who the hell knows? Who the hell cares, right?
Remember what happened in Wildwood, New Jersey? Donald Trump brought Lawrence Taylor on stage. Now, Lawrence Taylor pled guilty in New York in 2011 to criminal charges of sexual misconduct and patronizing an underage prostitute. He was sentenced to 6 years of probation in order to register as a registered sex offender. That's who Donald Trump brought up on stage in Wildwood, New Jersey. And this is what went down there. Play this clip.
I want to say, I grew up a Democrat, and I've always been a Democrat until I met this man right here. I'll tell you what. He will not have to worry about nobody in my family ever vote for a Democrat again, okay?
You know, when I reflect upon that speech that Donald Trump gave, remember Donald Trump gave this speech in Columbia, South Carolina a few months back at a Black Conservative Federation gala, or that's what it was called, but we showed you the audience there, and there didn't seem to be a lot of African Americans in the room, and it seemed to be, you know, not a diverse room at all, but nonetheless, that was what they were pushing out. And the thing that Donald Trump and his team have been continually trying to push out is that African American voters now support him. And so he goes and he gives this gala, and he starts pushing this message, having the media kind of launder it. And then recently he goes and he gives these speeches where he brings up on stage with him to try to prove that he has Black support individuals who have either pled guilty, in the case of Lawrence Taylor, or who are charged with very serious gang-related crimes. But remember when Donald Trump spoke at the gala in South Carolina and said this?
Good. These lights are so bright in my eyes that I can't see too many people out there. But I can only see the black ones. I can't see any white ones, you see? That's how far I've come. That's how far I've come. That's a long way, isn't it?
Yeah, I know he says so much stuff that sometimes we forget about that. And remember when he said that he's being indicted for the Black population? Play this clip.
I'm being indicted for you, the Black population.
And then remember what Donald Trump said. He says, Black people are so much on my side because they see what happens to me and what happens to them. Play this clip.
I think that's why the Black people are so much on my side now, because they see what's happening to me happens to them. Does that make sense? I've heard that. When I did the mugshot in Atlanta, you know that mugshot is number one. Elvis Presley's number two, and Frank Sinatra's. They had Frank Sinatra for fighting, and they had Elvis for, I don't know, something in a gas station. He tried to hold up a gas station. I don't know, something like that. Elvis. So Elvis is number two, but he was always number one. The mugshot, we've all seen the mugshot. And you know who embraced it more than anybody else? The Black population. It's incredible. You see Black people walking around with my mugshot. You know, they do shirts and they sell them for $19 a piece. It's pretty amazing. Millions, by the way, millions of these things have been.
What in the world are you talking about? What heinous, just blatantly racist and despicable things he said. I mean, by the way, this is someone who he and his father were found to be responsible for discriminating in their apartments. This is someone who quite literally took out ads calling for the death penalty of innocent individuals, and he targeted them on the basis of race. I mean, this is someone who spews hate and vitriol over and over again. Donald Trump, you were born with a golden spoon in your mouth. You make hush money payments to porn stars. You steal classified documents and nuclear secrets and lead insurrections against our country despite all of the privilege that you've been given. I don't think that's exactly the experience of black and brown communities in the United States of America, stealing our nuclear secrets. Donald Trump has a pattern, though, of bringing onto the stage criminals. You have to see the example of Lawrence Taylor. Again, as of right now, it is alleged against Sleepy Hollow and Chef G. It's allegations. I think a trial has not been held yet. But Donald Trump also brought on stage back in the midterms Kelly Ward, who made clear that the MAGA movement is a mafia movement, and she says this is the Orange Mafia. She's recently been indicted in Arizona. Play this clip.
Hey, stand up if you're ultra MAGA! Ultra MAGA! Woo! Hey, I'm a proud member of the Orange Mafia!
And she was recently indicted in Arizona along with the chief election lawyer, election integrity lawyer for the Trump campaign, Christina Bobb. And Christina Bobb took the mugshot picture to make the mugshot picture look like Donald Trump. And it's just wild to me that, as you see that, just wild to me that, corporate media, no one's just calling out that you had a registered sex offender on the stage with you. You brought on the stage with you, you claim to call law and order, and you have somebody on stage, people who were indicted for engaging in 12 shootings, an indictment including murder and at least 12 shootings. And this is what the right wing wants to tell us is law. I mean, this is, and just the fact that Donald Trump thinks that the country, we're so stupid and so gullible that we should go, oh, I guess that shows that he has black support. I mean, come on. And I think it's just important that we call it out and say who these people are, who he's bringing on stage. And this is what the Republican Party stands for right now.
It is Friday, the 24th of May of 2024, and you are in West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. I am your chef de cuisine, Justice Putnam. Gunner, the English bulldog, is our snoozing sous chef. Precious, the little Yorkie, is our door girl, and she will be seating you directly for our especially special daily special, Blue Moon Spirits Fridays, because we are all night hawks in the Diner of Life. Yes, it's Friday, and I assure you it's not just a liquid diet. I mean, the French 77s are all mixed and poured and ready for your virtual imbibing pleasure. But there will be quite a repast for you. Sustenance to carry us through. Okay, how are you on this Friday? It's quite beautiful here in Southern Oregon. For now, we're keeping our fingers crossed about the seasonal anomaly that has become quite regular in, well, at least the past decade. And what is that? Wildfire season! Yeah. So, we'll see. Right now, we're keeping our fingers crossed. We did get a little notice from the power company about, if the shit hits the fan, we're going to turn the power off. So good luck. That's sort of essentially what it says. They give you some advice about what to do when that happens. And basically they're saying you're on your own. Thanks. Appreciate it. At least they warned us. And some of us might say, well, we don't need to be warned. We're taking the mitigating measures already. Some person here in town said, like, not having a generator here in Southern Oregon is like not having snow clothes in Alaska. And she might be right. I remember the first time that I tried to hitchhike to the East Coast. Some buddies from college said, we're having a little gathering in Connecticut, and we're going to meet up in New York, and then we're going to drive up to, we'll get everybody into the car, and we'll drive up to Connecticut or over wherever it is, and have Thanksgiving. And I thought, why not? It's not like I had family within, 20 miles away, if that. So I said, okay, how are we going to get there? We're going to hitchhike. I said, okay, let's go. So we took off, and I got up to about the Continental Divide and realized, you know what? I've been surfing too long in Southern California. I did not bring a coat. I didn't bring a coat. So, being 18, 19, I said, okay, I'm going back to get a coat. I'll meet you guys. And I actually got there within hours after they did. I got onto a long-haul trucker who took me almost all the way across the continent. That helped. But yeah, I hitchhiked back to Southern California, got to my dorm room, got a coat, actually got a few other things too because I was not winterized. I mean, we're going to Thanksgiving. That's like in November, late November. So, not having a generator in Southern Oregon when they just turn the power off, it's like not having snow clothes in Alaska. And I know exactly what not having snow clothes is like. What I would prefer in terms of generating power is a better battery system. Maybe one not made by an apartheid blood emerald fascist Nazi. I'd like one of those. One of those not made by that guy. But, or kick that guy out and we'll go with the people who actually developed the battery that this guy stole it from. That's what he does. He hasn't developed anything. He steals this stuff from people and says he's the great engineer. Well, getting back to the matter at hand, I want battery storage for solar power that's better than what we have. Because the way it's all set up now, when the power goes out, you still got to have a generator. Even if you have solar power. Thanks. So I'd like to bank some of that in my own battery and use it. Okay? So I hope they get on that right away. Because apparently if the fascists take over, we're not going to get any of the things that are going to take us into the next century because they want to take us back to just before Reconstruction. The Supreme Court of the United States, the MAGA court, essentially took us back to a few days before Reconstruction. Or maybe a few years. That's right. They're going to get rid of Brown v. Board of Education because did you really think school vouchers and magnet schools was anything but we said what it was? And it was pretty much a move by racists because they didn't want their kids to go to school with those people. Exactly what we said it was. Okay. Clarence Thomas is no Thurgood Marshall, and they gave us Clarence Thomas because of Thurgood Marshall. We insulted them by getting Thurgood Marshall on the courts. When I say courts, I mean he worked his way up. Didn't he? Regardless. So we got Clarence Thomas's get back. And we elected Barack Obama twice. That was the step too far. They warned us what they were going to do, and we just brushed it off like, oh, that's hyperbole from people. Come on. Come on. And they did exactly what they did because the insurrection did not start on January 6th. It didn't start in the summer before. It didn't start when Malheur was taken over. It started decades before that, when the Heritage Foundation, the Family Research Council, the Federalist Society, etc., 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 all funded by godless, stateless billionaires. Yeah, they say they're Americans, sure. They don't care. The only thing that they hate more than America is Americans. Look at us. We got all sorts of colors, and some of us are infirmed, and some of us are not, and some of us are extra, and some of us have less. Oh my God, no! Run for the hills. Let's build a big wall and a moat. Okay, well, gated communities. I keep saying, put them in the gated communities, turn the guard towers in, and keep them in. They'll never know. They'll have all the comforts of life. They got the strip mall, I don't know, Panda Express. I like Pandora Express. Oh, eat me up. Panda Express. I'll have the Panda Express in the strip mall. They got the Botox strip mall clinics. They got their little strip mall churches. Little fake lake. Marinas. Little tiny marinas with their little paddle boats. Oh, look, honey, we're living life. Yes, you are. Okay. Like I said, they'll never know. Keep them in. No time for Nazis. All right? We don't have any time for it. And we certainly don't need it on the Supreme Court. And I think something needs to be done about these godless, stateless billionaires effing up democracy. There ought to be a law. There ought to be. All right. Okay. Have I ranted enough? Yes, I have. I should get to the matters at hand. And what are the matters at hand? Well, the curated show that we curated took the time to scour even more than artificial intelligence can. We scrape and we scrape and we find them. Yes, we do. So, real human behind this is handcrafted every inch of the way. So we might as well give you a rundown on what we put our labors to. The royal we. Wow. Well, North Carolina residents filed suit to remove a Confederate monument dedicated to our faithful slaves, which ties in pretty good with those rapper gangsters that took the stage with Trump at the top there. What was that again? 140 count criminal indictment. Includes murder and at least a dozen shootings. At least. Trump's kind of people. Oh, yeah. Well, continuing in the Bistro Cafe, Arizona doctors can temporarily come to California to perform abortions for their patients under a new law. And you can imagine Arizona, well, no, maybe not Arizona. Maybe Texas will, I don't know, take it upon themselves to set up roadblocks to check the IDs of anybody crossing over into California from Arizona. We'll see. They would do that because they're a republic unto themselves. And here's some good news. New York is offering up to $90 million in tax credits for news outlets to hire and retain journalists in an effort to help keep the shrinking local news industry afloat. I would give them more than just tax credits, but it's not my budget. After the break, we move to the chef's table where Putin signed a decree allowing the seizure of Americans' assets if the U.S. confiscates Russian holdings. Hey, if you got a McDonald's franchise in Russia and you're not Russian, I would bug out. Come on. And work on the new Rome subway line under the Colosseum and the Forum has entered a crucial phase. All that and more on West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. Bon appetit. near the bottom of our homepage at netrootsradio.com. To the right of the page is the chat room link, and the chat room is monitored by Kelly Lincoln, who will be attending Netroots Nation again this year, and along with Ricky, so stay tuned for that. If you would take a gander across the page to the left from that chat room link that's near the bottom of our homepage at netrootsradio.com, there is the link to our Patreon page. And if you could become a recurring Patreon of Netroots Radio, it really does help us pay those bills, which are ever increasing. And without your help, well, I got to tell you, we pull it out of our own wallets. But we would still be unable to do it without you. So thank you for your generosity. If you could afford to send us what you might spend on an espresso-type coffee drink, for instance, that really does go a long way in helping us, well, cut down the ever-increasing costs of running this powerhouse of resistance. Yes, thank you. And truly, from the bottoms of our heart, there have been many of you who have been helping us for many, many years, and we are forever grateful for that, so thank you. If you would like to follow Netroots Radio on the social medias, you can do so quite easily by going to @NetrootsRadio in most cases, and in those other cases, you just go to Netroots Radio. How easy is that? Tom takes care of those, and thank you, Tom. Follow me on those social medias as well at Justice Putnam. Hey, pretty simple. I post the show notes and links diaries on Daily Codes 10 minutes before showtime, so you have quick access to the actual reportage by the actual reporters, because the links are there in the diaries. And if you follow my social media feeds, you'll get there really quick. So there. You can also follow the show on Twitter, not X, Twitter, at Cookbook West. And please do pick up podcasts by way of Spreaker, TuneIn, iHeart, YouTube, iTunes, even Audible, or wherever podcasts can be found. They're everywhere. I should mention that the show can be followed on Facebook at West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy, but it's kind of like another placemat there too. I just use it to post whenever the show gets posted on podcast. So there. Yikes. Alrighty. Let us tuck into this first offering because time is a-moving. And this first offering is by Maria Louise Powell from the Washington Post. A group representing black residents in a small North Carolina county has filed a federal lawsuit against local officials demanding that a 122-year-old monument outside a courthouse that honors, quote, faithful slaves, end quote, be removed. Since 1902, a 23-foot-tall statue of a Confederate soldier has stood outside the Tyrrell County Courthouse in Columbia, North Carolina. The zinc statue rests on a base featuring a bust of Robert E. Lee and the inscription, "In appreciation of our faithful slaves." For decades, the statue and its reference to slavery have sparked protests, presentations, billboards, and letters to newspaper editors advocating for the monument to be taken down. But the Confederate monument remains outside the courthouse, pushing frustrated residents to turn to litigation as their last resort, according to an attorney representing them. Well, on Tuesday, the civic group Concerned Citizens of Tyrrell County and several of its members filed a lawsuit in U.S. District Court in eastern North Carolina against the county's Board of Commissioners, claiming the Confederate monument constitutes racially discriminatory government speech that violates the Constitution's Equal Protection Clause. Oh, except the Supreme Court just ruled there's no racism in America, so you have no standing to bring a racially charged case. You are the real racist. Beam of the Associated Press brings us this next offering here in the Bistro Cafe of West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy, Blue Moon Spirits Fridays. Arizona doctors can temporarily come to California to perform abortions for their patients under a new law signed yesterday, Thursday, by Governor Gavin Newsom. California's law is meant to give Arizonans an option to receive legal abortions from their doctor over the next several months. The move was a reaction to a recent Arizona Supreme Court decision to reinstate a law first passed in 1864, before Arizona was a state, but not enforced for decades, that bans nearly all abortions in Arizona without exceptions for rape or incest. The Supreme Court's overturning of Roe v. Wade in 2022 allowed states to set their own abortion laws. More than 20 states have since enforced abortion bans of varying degrees. In Arizona, it is still unclear exactly when or if the Civil War-era ban will be instituted, but the Democrats who control California's legislature did not want to take any chances. California's new law, which takes effect immediately, allows licensed doctors in Arizona to come to California and perform abortions for their patients through the end of November. The earliest the repeal could take effect is in the fall. The state Supreme Court granted a stay on enforcement until September 26, and it could further be delayed because of a 45-day stay granted in a separate but related case. Khan of the Associated Press brings us this final offering here in the Bistro Cafe part of West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. New York is offering up to $90 million in tax credits for news outlets to hire and retain journalists in an effort to help keep the shrinking local news industry afloat. The U.S. newspaper industry has been in a long decline, driven by factors including a loss in advertising revenue as outlets have moved from primarily print to mostly digital. That prompted state lawmakers to help in a measure passed in the state budget. New York's 3-year program allows some news orgs to tap into refundable tax credits each year, with a single outlet able to receive tax credits of up to $320,000 annually. State Senator Brad Holyman Siegel, Democrat, who sponsored the legislation, said, "Preserving journalism jobs is vital for the health of democracy." As evidence, he cited the weakened New York news media's failure to research the background of George Santos, a Republican who fabricated many details of his life story until after he had been elected to Congress. So some of my colleagues have dubbed this credit the George Santos Prevention Act, because many believe it was the lack of local press coverage that enabled Santos to spin his web of lies undetected. While it is intended to benefit small community news sites, larger media organizations could also potentially benefit. The tax credits would mostly only be available to news outlets that are not publicly traded, though there would be an exception for certain media businesses that can show a reduction in circulation. Pardon me. Holyman Sigel said he is open to making revisions to expand the legislation to include nonprofit news organizations and digital-only media outlets, which are currently left out of the program. This is the first time in American history that we have created a tax credit structure to support journalism jobs. Lawmakers in several states have weighed various approaches to help struggling news media organizations. The state governments in California and New Mexico help fund local news fellowship programs there. And that brings us to our break. And when we get back from that break, we will go through weather from around the world, and we will finish up with the stories that we've curated for you today. You are listening to West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy, and we will be right back.
You are listening to netrootsradio.com.
Please hang up and try again.
From a point at sea to the circles of your mind, a new force is at work for planetary transformation. New radio for a new Earth.
This is Take Two Movie Review. I'm Mike Friend. This week, The Setup. With a studio change, Fox to Disney, a new director, Wes Ball from Maze Runner, and no more Andy Serkis in the lead, there were questions as to how Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes would stand up, especially given just how good the previous trilogy was. The short answer is pretty well. The action here picks up 300 years after the death of the revered Caesar, with clans of primates eking out somewhat satisfying lives amidst the ruins of the former human civilization. A young ape, Noah, lives with a clan that raises eagles for hunting and defensive purposes, but when returning home from an egg hunt, finds his village being destroyed, his father dead, and its inhabitants being kidnapped by the evil Proximus Caesar, a leader who it turns out has perverted the name and legend of Caesar for his own purposes. How unheard of. Most of the movie is a coming-of-age road trip where the young Noah encounters the wise orangutan Raka, who imparts the real teachings of Caesar, May, and Echo, a term here for humans, who's retained the power of speech, and has a mission at the facility where Proximus has set up shop, as well as Trevathan, a wonderful William H. Macy, a prisoner and human advisor to Proximus. The set design is evocative of the History Channel's Life After Humans, and AI's impact on motion capture can already be seen. Owen Teague, Noah's character, carries this one, but in a far different way than Serkis's Caesar. Noah is growing and incorporating spirituality and proto-political ideas into a character to come. In Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, we find apes repeating human mistakes and humans, without spoilers, still human and not as done as we might have thought they were, thus the setup for next time. This has been Take Two Movie Review. I'm Mike Friend. Catch up with us at take2moviereview.com and feed us back on our channel on YouTube.
This program is presented by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
For older adults, optimal aging includes preventing injuries, effectively managing existing chronic conditions, and maintaining physical and cognitive health and social engagement. I'm Dr. Linda Anderson, Director of CDC's Healthy Aging Program. The promotion of cognitive health is a critical component of overall good health. Cognitive health among older adults is not just the absence of disease. It's the development and preservation of cognitive abilities such as memory, language, judgment, and remembered skills such as driving. Cognitive abilities enable individuals to maintain social connectedness, an ongoing sense of purpose, and the ability to function independently. In 2013, CDC and the Alzheimer's Association released the second in a series of roadmaps. This roadmap, the Public Health Roadmap for State and National Partnerships 2013 to 2018, was developed as part of CDC's Healthy Brain Initiative. It reflects the insights and expertise of a wide range of stakeholders at the national, state, and community levels. The roadmap shares the Healthy Brain Initiative's vision of cognitive health as a vital component of overall health and well-being, an area ripe for public health efforts. Specific actions are addressed in 4 traditional domains of public health. The first is monitor and evaluate. Tracking the health of the nation is a fundamental public health function. Actions in this area include assessments related to cognitive health that help quantify and qualify the public health impact and inform public health policies and strategies. The second domain is educate and empower the nation, which focuses on actions that raise public awareness and improve access to information and resources. The third domain, develop policy and mobilize partnerships, includes actions aimed at ensuring that cognitive health is integrated into a broad spectrum of public health work. The fourth area, assure a competent workforce, focuses on preparing public health professionals to translate current and emerging findings on cognitive health into effective public health practice. This roadmap provides a solid foundation for the public health community to anticipate and respond as new scientific discoveries related to cognitive health emerge. Public health agencies and partners are encouraged to work together on actions that best fit their mission, needs, interests, and capabilities. For more information, please visit cdc.gov/aging/healthybrain.
For the most accurate health information, visit www.cdc.gov or call 1-800-CDC-INFO.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them? By their clothes, their age, the way they speak? Would you notice an 8-year-old girl who's not excited for summer break
because she may not be having lunch again until September?
Or a single father of 2 who works 3
part-time jobs and still can't put enough food on the table?
Or maybe a mother who cleans offices at night,
hoping to find meeting leftovers to take home to her hungry family.
Or a war veteran who's having a hard time
landing a job and getting back on his feet.
I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. People you pass by every day but never knew were hungry. I am hunger in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America, 200 Food Banks Strong, and the Ad Council.
I was in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean when it happened. There was a sudden jolt, and our submarine crashed on the seafloor. We were in total darkness.
That's Dr. Dejana Figueroa, a marine biologist and STEM teacher, talking about a deep sea dive she'll never forget.
It's funny, when I was a kid, I was afraid of the ocean, and there I was, 2 miles below the surface. But as a scientist, you prepare for that. Using our training and a little creativity, we fixed the sub and finished our experiments. The dive was just too important. Every dive gives us glimpses at things few people ever get to see. Glowing creatures, fiery undersea volcanoes. When we got back to the surface, I kissed the ground and called my mom, of course. But you know what? I wouldn't trade that dive for anything.
Dr. Figueroa uses her passion for STEM to discover new things and make the world a better place. She can STEM, so can you. Check out She Can STEM for more stories and inspiration. A message from the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Tom Hartman, and since you're listening to netrootsradio.com, show your progressive side and go to the donate button on the bottom of the homepage. It's progressives like you who power Netroots Radio and keep the progressive message beaming everywhere 24 hours a day. Just go to our donate button at the bottom of netrootsradio.com. Thank you for keeping progressive radio at full power.
You're listening to the American Democracy Minute, keeping your government by and for the people. 11 of 18 Arizona 2020 fake electors and Trump election lawyers were arraigned May 21st on 9 felony counts after being indicted by a grand jury April 26th. Former President Donald Trump was named as an unindicted co-conspirator. The 11 arraigned May 21st were a Republican state senator, 8 GOP activists, including a Republican National Committeeman, and 2 of Donald Trump's allies, including Rudy Giuliani and Republican National Committee election lawyer Christina Bobb. Another alleged central figure, John Eastman, was arraigned earlier. Trump Chief of Staff Mark Meadows and 4 others will be arraigned in June. All 18 defendants are charged with fraudulent schemes to deceive and practice of that deception, forgery, changing the vote of an elector by corrupt means or inducement, tampering with a public record, and presenting false instrument for filing. All have pleaded not guilty. Of the 7 states where GOP activists created a substitute slate of presidential electors, 4 state attorneys general have brought charges: Michigan, Nevada, Georgia, and Arizona. 3 others, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and New Mexico, have either chosen not to bring criminal charges or cited a lack of grounds for indictment. Michigan held preliminary hearings in April, where 15 defendants face trial. Pre-trial motions are being heard in Nevada for 6 other defendants. See the unredacted indictment at AmericanDemocracyMinute.org. I'm Brian Beal.
I'm Rick Smith, and this is Labor History in 2. On this day in labor history, the year was 1959. That was the day Operation Humanity marched in support of New York City hospital workers fighting for union recognition and bargaining rights at area voluntary hospitals. Workers organizing with Local 1199 had been on strike since May 8th and called on the public to support them in their efforts. They pointed out that the 30,000 overwhelmingly black and Latino workers were fighting against economic exploitation and discrimination. Striking workers condemned their paltry wages, which averaged $21 less a week than workers at city hospitals. They added they had no job security or benefits and were not even eligible for unemployment. The Central Labor Council, the NAACP, and area civil rights activists all supported the march. In their book, Upheaval in the Quiet Zone, Leon Fink and Brian Greenberg note that a union largely led by Jews had squared off against hospitals directed by the scions of the city's Jewish community, to the degree that it was a family affair. The 1959 fight thus took on the bitterness of a civil war. As well, Catholic trade union leaders decried the anti-union fervor of hospitals run by the Archdiocese. Fink and Greenberg illustrate the support of fiery Mike Quill, president of TWU Local 100, who denounced hospital trustees as worse than famed segregationist Governor Orville Faubus of Arkansas. Weeks into the strike, area trade unions supplied reinforcements in the form of donations, loans, and groceries. Local IBEW members assessed themselves $1 a week for the strikers. Many unions regularly joined picket lines in support. Though the strike would fail to secure union recognition and collective bargaining rights, there were minimal gains. Solidarity galvanized the membership for future battles. Like what you hear? Check out more at laborhistoryin2.com.
Thank you for accompanying us here to the Chef's Table at West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy, Blue Moon Spirits Fridays, because we are all Nighthawks in the Diner of Life. We always begin weather from around the world along the banks of the Rogue River in the Rogue River Valley of southern Oregon on the west coast of the continental United States of America, where it is currently 50 degrees Fahrenheit, expecting highs in the mid to upper 70s. A slight chance of a rain shower or 3 or 4 in the next 4 to 6 hours. Though we are under sunny conditions at the moment. Winds will be out of the northwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Then it looks like, partly cloudy this evening with more clouds overnight. Lows in the upper 40s. Winds out of the northwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour. And then a few passing clouds tomorrow early, otherwise generally sunny, with highs in the low to mid 70s. Winds out of the northwest to 5 to 10 miles per hour. And then looks like we'll have temperatures in the 80s for Sunday and Monday. Grass pollen is rated very high here in Rogue River proper. The air quality index for the region is in the good range at 17 parts per million. So that's getting down there. That's good. And that daytime UV index is very high at level 8. So you know to take care. It's been at that level for quite some time now. Barometric pressure is falling at 29.94 inches. Visibility is up to 9 miles. And relative humidity is at 85%. Weather from around the world is brought to you by a crowd of crowdsourced weather stations that a crowd crowdsources from around the world. And that is the Weather Underground. London is 65 degrees and mostly cloudy. Paris is 68 and cloudy with another thunderstorm advisory. Rome is 78 and fair, also with another thunderstorm advisory. Kabul is 67 degrees and cloudy. Hong Kong is 82 and clear. Tokyo is 73 and clear. Melbourne, Victoria, Australia is 51 degrees and cloudy. San Francisco, California is 52 degrees and partly cloudy. Chicago, Illinois is 75 degrees and partly cloudy with a severe, and when I say severe, they mean severe thunderstorm watch. And New York, New York is 80 degrees Fahrenheit and sunny. And that is weather from around the world, brought to you by a crowd of crowdsourced weather stations that a crowd crowdsources from around the world. World Desk of the Associated Press brings us this first amuse-bouche here at the chef's table at West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy, Blue Moon Spirits Fridays. Vladimir Putin signed a decree allowing Russia to confiscate assets of U.S. companies and individuals to compensate for any Russian assets confiscated in the U.S. The decree was published on the Russian government's legal portal yesterday, Thursday, as top finance officials from the Group of 7 industrialized nations began a meeting at which the question of what to do with Russian assets frozen in the West is at the top of the agenda. Ukraine and many of its supporters have called for the confiscation of $260 billion with a B in Russian assets frozen outside the country after Russia's invasion of Ukraine on February 24th of 2022. But European officials have resisted, citing legal and financial stability concerns. However, U.S. President Joe Biden in April signed into law the Rebuilding Economic Prosperity and Opportunity for Ukrainians Act, which allows the administration to seize the roughly $5 billion in Russian state assets located in the U.S. The decree, signed by Putin, says the Russian companies and the central bank and individuals could apply to Russian courts to declare the seizure of property in the U.S. as unjustified. If the court agrees, a government commission would offer assets in compensation that could include property owned by U.S. citizens or companies in Russia, securities and shares in Russian companies. Well, my advice remains, and I would advise bug out while you still can. Nicole Winfield at the World Desk of the Associated Press brings us this final amuse-bouche here at the Chef's Table at West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy, Blue Moon Spirits Fridays. A long-delayed and complex project to bring a subway line under ancient Roman ruins and through Rome's historic center has entered a crucial phase with the digging of a 280-foot deep retaining wall around the flagship station. During a tour yesterday, Thursday, of the construction site at the Piazza Venezia, Chief Engineer Andrea Ciotti said work on the nearly $3.3 billion U.S. project, that would be $3 billion in euros, considered one of the most complicated of its kind in the world, was likely to be completed by 2034. The Metro C subway line has been in the works for 2 decades, but has been slowed by bureaucratic and funding delays, and crucially, the archaeological excavations necessary given the underground ruins of imperial Roman and medieval civilizations in its way. When completed, the subway line will run underneath some of the world's most important cultural heritage sites, as well as some of Rome's prized Renaissance palazzi, churches, and the Vatican. As a result, Italy's culture ministry has been involved at every step and will be on hand once the digging begins in earnest on the first 50 feet of the Piazza Venezia. That's the station where the ruins from ancient Rome lie. During that phase, archaeologists will be guiding the excavations, taking objects for study, restoration, and eventual placement in a museum within the station itself when it opens. Well, good luck. Well, that brings us to the end of our broadcast period for the day and the week, but you do know Netroots Radio broadcasts on, and we will meet up here on Monday, that's right, a holiday, for River City Hash Mondays. So do stay tuned to Netroots Radio all day, all night, and all weekend for all the breaking news as it breaks, and we will meet up here on Monday, right here, in West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. Bon appétit.
Je voudrais du soleil vert, des dentelles et des théières, des photos de bord de mer, dans mon jardin d'hiver. Je voudrais de la lumière, comme en Nouvelle-Angleterre. Je veux changer d'atmosphère, dans mon jardin d'hiver. Ma la pluie de novembre, tes mains qui courent, je n'en peux plus de t'attendre. Les années passent, il est loin, là je tombe. Nul ne peut nous entendre. Je voudrais du Fred Astaire, revoir un latte Goël. Je voudrais toujours te plaire dans mon jardin d'hiver. Je veux déjeuner par terre comme au long de golfe clair, t'embrasser les yeux ouverts dans mon jardin d'hiver. Pluie de novembre, tes mains qui courent, je n'en peux plus de t'attendre. Les années passent, il est loin, là je tombe. Nul ne peut nous entendre. Ba-da-da-dum-di-da-dum. 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 Dans mon jardin d'hiver. Ba-da-da-dum-di-da-dum. 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 Dans mon jardin d'hiver. Dans mon jardin d'hiver. Dans mon jardin d'hiver.